All right, guys, welcome to REI Live, our virtual version of this shenanigan for September. We're super excited to have you guys. Just a couple reminders. We do have a couple of handles on social media right now. Please go and find us. We are putting all of our, and by we, I mean this beautiful lady, Catherine, keeps putting all of our events on there for us all over Facebook. So please make sure that you find us. It's at REI Live SRQ. We also have a website, reilivesrq.com, and you can also find our other handle, Investor Quarters, which is connected to us as well. So we are now on YouTube. We are uploading all of our videos onto our REI Live channel, and we have an actual, it's youtube.com/REILiveSRQ now. We have enough followers that we are officially verified and have our own link, so we're super excited for that. You do want to subscribe to our page and make sure that you hit the bell. If you hit the bell, it will give you a notification every time we upload a new video, so that's super important. So what is REI Live? REI Live is Real Estate Investing Live. It's the newest way for investors and real estate entrepreneurs to network and collaborate. Typically, this is in person once a month, but obviously because of COVID, we have totally went virtual. We are next month, and I'll talk about it later in my slides. Next month, we will be back at the Carlisle in person. We're working on different options for in-person versus virtual as well. So just stay tuned for all of that information. But right now we have launched in 5 different cities. We originated in Birmingham, Alabama. We started Sarasota along with Columbia at the same time. Atlanta came shortly after that, and then Orlando came earlier this year. And we always have a keynote speaker every month. Now, Investor Quarters, if you have not heard about what Investor Quarters is, Catherine, if you want to put in the chat what the address is. Are you guys still virtual actual over there? Are all these classes are virtual? Okay, so you guys don't need the address. Excellent. So these are all virtual free classes that you guys can take. Go to facebook.com/Investor Quarters. This is free education, guys. You don't want to miss out on this. Please take a screenshot, take a photo of these dates. You will not want to miss this stuff. This is all local people talking to you in their local market, everyone that's investing here in Sarasota, Manatee area, Southwest Florida. So October 29th, we are going to be in person for REI Live. So that's the Thursday evening event. We will be at 6:30 as usual. Please make sure that you RSVP for this event. We have very strict instructions by the state on how many people we can let in and how we can address this whole coming back to a conference meeting situation. So what we will have to ask you is to wear a mask, of course. We will have hand sanitizer, all of that good stuff, and chairs obviously will be social distancing, and we're just going to change our layout and everything in the room. So, but we do have a limited number of attendees that we are allowed to have, so please make sure you RSVP if you want to come. We also have November 19th and December 10th, and then we have a 3-day deep dive into REI coming at the first weekend, kind of. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday in December. It's December 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And I think we have, I don't know if Mark or Paul want to speak on this a little bit, but we do have a little bit of a schedule here. It's called Think and Profit Like a Real Estate Investor, and it's with my partner, Mark, and my husband, Paul Preventure. I don't know if either one of you want to speak on that real quick. Or Mark, are you still on?
I'm here. I just want to tell you all, don't miss it. It'll be time to finish up the year and get yourself positioned for 2021. We all know that crisis equals opportunities, and coming up in 2021, you all want to be in position to capitalize on the opportunities that are ahead of you. So everybody stay tuned and get ready, signed in, get plugged into our next 2 live events, October and November, and we'll see you in the 3-day event in December.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll talk a little bit about the 3-day event. So it's really exciting. The first day, we're going to dive into how to find the deals, because if you're going to do any strategy in real estate, you've got to be able to find deals. So we're going to talk about, your marketing. Mark's going to start it off with priorities and goals, because if you don't know where you're going, then you won't know what direction to head and how to get there. We'll talk about analyzing properties, some alternatives to becoming a realtor and joining the MLS that you can utilize that are nationwide, as well as the importance of your CRM system, so your customer resource management system. Day 2, we'll dive into rehabbing. Mark will start us off with launching your day, what you need to do to get up in the morning, start your day to really conquer it. I know that there was a really great YouTube video that talked about making your bed is the first thing to do. Similar situation to that, but a little bit more in depth on how to really gear yourself up to win. Follow-up questions from wholesaling after you guys have time to marinate overnight, and then rehab management, budgets, and using your retirement to build real estate wealth. Day 3 is all about rentals, growing your rental portfolio, cash flow, property management tricks. We'll actually have the beautiful Jill Lyons there talking about different tricks on property manager, as well as hearing from local attorneys and local real estate accountants. So there's a lot of different people that we bring in. You're welcome to bring your partner guest, as well as we serve you lunch every day. So it's a full day of immersion, and we will hopefully be able to share this virtually as well for people that aren't local or are not able to attend. So we're working out those kinks right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. Yes, these events are awesome. They are long days full of great information, and you don't want to miss them. So let Catherine or I know if you want to sign up for those. We did launch a little bit of a swag line. So if you go to reilivesrq.com, we even have cute masks. Of course, Catherine hooked us up with a mask. Now that we've got COVID going on, we have to be fashionable. So you can get REI Live masks, and if you want to order them now, you may have them in time for the October meeting, so we can all be matchy-matchy and be cute. So please go to reilivesrq.com to grab any swag that you'd like. And I've mentioned this before, but I always want to reiterate it every month. We own a company that we kind of branched off of REI Live to help new entrepreneurs or veteran people to get involved with like lead lists and websites and CRMs. So we started LeadX for different alternatives on the MLS and everything like that. So it's really a good way to kickstart your investing business. And so contact either Catherine or I, and we can get you hooked up with that. And we are always super excited. We always have 2 pages of sponsors now. We've got some big ones, Best Buy and Relax Realty Group in Sarasota, Van Gates and Dramus, fun stuff. And then guys, I always put out our contact information. This is me, Mark, Paul, and Catherine's actual cell phone numbers. This is not a bad date. We didn't change one number. We always want you to be able to contact us at any time. Please take down our cell phone numbers. Find us on Instagram, find us on Facebook, take down our emails. If you guys have any questions at any time, always contact us. We want to hear from you. That's the whole reason why we started this REI Live. We want to collaborate. We don't believe in competition. That's the whole point of this. So contact us, guys. And without further ado, we have our keynote speaker tonight, Steve Lloyd. He is a rock star, so we're super excited to talk to you. And this is going to be a little different than normal, guys. This is going to be kind of like an interactive conversation. If you have any questions for Steve throughout the process, please just throw it into the comments section, and Catherine and I will grab it. But Steve, I will kick it over to you to at least introduce yourself, and we'll go from there. And I totally muted you. Hold on just a moment. Let me see, unmute you. Okay, now you should be able to unmute and talk.
All right, here we go. I'm going to say that again. Well, thanks a lot for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I actually now live in Sarasota. I live on Siesta Key until I find I'm actually living in one of my rental units because I don't have a place to live. So I haven't done that before, bought a property and lived in one of my rental units, but it's working out pretty cool. I'm 50 yards from the #1 beach in the country. I'm originally from Westchester, Pennsylvania. My actually whole life has changed in the past 12 months, which is pretty cool. I was coming 10 days a month on one of my rehabs on Windsong Lane, a 4-unit that I bought. It was about a $200,000 rehab. And I was coming 10 days a month, and I got here. I came for Easter for 10 days, and COVID hit, and they told me that the world was all dying, and I lived under my bed for 5 weeks. But when I came out of hibernation, I started meeting a bunch of people here, and I loved it. I didn't think I was going to move here until like 2022, but I decided after about I was working out. I actually lost 50 pounds since I've been here. And I was riding my bike. I went down to the Turtle Beach, and I was down off the Intercoastal, and I was working out, and two dolphins came by. I called my partner, and I said, I'm never coming home because we don't have dolphins that swim in the Delaware River where I live. So my partner didn't talk to me for a month because she was so mad. We've been partners for like 11 years. We always had our morning coffee together. We always had our conversations after 5 o'clock. So that part of it was kind of sad for me. But now, all of a sudden, last month or 2 months ago, she showed up for 2 months, and she goes, this isn't so bad. I think we should move the company to Siesta Key. So things are working out pretty good. So thanks for having me on the show.
No, that's awesome. So Steve, can we go back in time a little bit, and can you tell me how you got started in real estate at the beginning?
Sure. So I actually owned a pizza shop. I started working at a pizza shop when I was 10. I ran it when I was 16. I bought it when I was 20. I was actually a union truck driver at the same time. So I would go to the pizza shop at 3, work till 11. Then I would go to the union truck driver company, and I would work from midnight till 7 o'clock in the morning. I did that for almost 12 years. I knew I didn't want to do that forever. Some of the people listening might know Dave Van Horn. He owns a company, Partners for Payment Relief, which I started that. Me and him actually started that company together. It was just not right for me. I moved on. They bought me out, and now his company it's absolutely huge in the non-performing second mortgage world. And you know, Dave and I just, you know, he took me to a meeting down in Delaware, and all these people sitting around the table saying real estate's the best thing in the world. So I put my pizza shop up for sale, and I actually got into mortgages, but we only did mortgages for investors. We wouldn't do an owner-occupied mortgage. So what was cool is we might get an investor that bought 4 or 5 mortgage houses a year, investment properties, and we would end up doing 4 or 5 mortgages for one person. So, you know, look, I know a lot of people then, and we did extremely well. I guess I was about 36. I'm 52 now, which is nuts, but I guess I was about 36 or 37, somewhere in there. I wanted to do what they were doing, so I got up to about 13 rental properties, you know, your typical row homes in the Philadelphia area. But then somebody gave me an idea about student housing. And as I started to raise more capital, that's what really I'm an expert in, is raising capital. I went to Temple University, and I built about 80 buildings there, all through private capital, no bank financing, just individuals gave me money, first and second lien positions. And it's kind of strange today. I've been selling this off for the past 2 years. I really got motivated to sell more. So I actually am down to about 10 properties at Temple University. I used to have about 250 students that rented from me, but now I'm probably down to about 60 or 70. That's kind of weird to say that. And then I started a fund about 7 years ago that's called Stone Bay Holdings. And I've raised about, I'd say about 80 million for that fund. Actively, there's probably about 45 million in there. We do 3 things. We buy charged off second mortgages. We loan private capital. I loan private capital to about 12 or 13 people. And then I buy apartment buildings over 20 million in mobile home parks, usually in the $7 to $8 million range. But, you know, the key for me is I have basically 12 strategic partners which go out and find the assets. So I don't do any of that at all. I don't look for apartment buildings. I never will. I don't look for mobile home parks. I don't evaluate charged off second mortgages, but my strategic partners bring me the assets. They tell me whether they think it's a good deal, and then I'll put up the capital. I'll raise capital for my investors, and we take down the mortgage. Usually mortgage pools of like 2 to 3 million. Lending is usually $1 million to $5 million on deals. And I think I talked about the mobile home parks. And ironically, when I wasn't, all my apartment buildings are in actually Florida. So that's kind of funny. I have a mobile home park in, I think, South Carolina, and I have 3 of them in Pennsylvania.
Very cool. So we got a little bit high. Can you bring some of that down for somebody that's new? Because we have a lot of new people I'm looking through that are just getting into it. On your mainly raising capital, how do you do that? Like, how do you go out and just find money? It's not like something you pick up off the side of the street, right?
Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you back to the very beginning. I can remember my first couple deals. So, you know, being an entrepreneur, everyone will relate to this. It wasn't easy to get bank financing. So because I really didn't have, when I quit my job and I sold the peach shop, I didn't have any W-2 income, and that's what the banks were really looking for. So when I found a property, I would never put 10 or 20% down because we would run out of money, right? If we bought a property for 100 grand and I put $20,000 down, it was already running. Well, eventually I would run out of money, and back then I didn't have that kind of money. So I just look for distressed assets, which mostly everybody, I hope, is looking for. And I would look at the after repair value of $100,000. So that's what the property is going to be worth when I'm at the purchase and the rehab. So I would, you know, Dave Van Horn, he was actually using his credit cards. He would use his credit card and, you know, purchase the property, another credit card, would use the rehab the property. He'd get that finished. He'd put a tenant in there, and then he would go to the bank and he'd do an 80% refi. And basically, I just took that and put that on steroids with individuals. And my first deal was my best friend from California. I think it was, let's go easy. The numbers won't be perfect, but I want to make them easy so people understand. So I just created a system. In any business you have to create a system. And my system was, I would bring in someone like Mike to lend me basically 70% of the after repair value. So that property might be purchased at 50 grand. Mike would lend me the 50 grand. I put him in a first position. I'd give him a note, a mortgage. I'd give him personal guarantees. I'd name him on the insurance policy. I did it just like a commercial bank would, because further down the road, it's very important when you go to the actual bank, a real bank. And I'd get another person. If Mike didn't have the whole 70 grand, I'd get another person for second position. I'd give them a rate of return, and I'd give them a second position note. I'd name them on the insurance policy, personal guarantees, assignment of rents, and I made sure that everything was in order for the paperwork, because when I was done that property and I would put a tenant in there, 6 months later, I would go to a normal bank, or maybe 9 months later, I'd go to a normal bank and I would do a refi. And I would refi and I would take out that private investor money, and then I would have permanent financing at a good rate. Well, geez, back then I was raising money at like 12, 14%. It was that was my desperate times, right? So, but then I would do a deal with no money out of my pocket, just by learning how to raise capital. And I just created that system, and that system led into Temple University, where by that time I had like 13 properties in the counties. And when I got to Temple, the deals were bigger. So, you know, a typical duplex back then, 10 years ago or 12 years ago at Temple, that would, those properties, let's say a duplex, they would each have 4 bedrooms, so that would be 8 bedrooms in a building. I knew the after repair value, the value of that was $450,000. So it's crazy how I remember the numbers. I haven't done it for so long. But I know that 75% of 450,000 is right around 337.5. So what I would do is I would do, just to repeat, I would buy that shell for 100 grand, and I would bring in that private investor for like 223,000. But what I would actually do, not 223, I'd actually bring in about 233 to 233 or 243. And what I would do is actually take that extra 15 grand and put that in another account, and that would be the interest that I'd put aside from the investor. So they were actually paying them. I was actually paying with their money that they lent me. So that was truly no money out of my pocket, right? So it was $100,000 at a certain percent. It was about $235,000. So I would be into the whole deal for about $345,000. So when I did that refi, if it appraised for like 450, 460, I do the refi. The worst it was be $5,000 or $6,000 out of my pocket, and I've actually paid the investor with their own money. Now there's a first and second position lien on there for the 345. So when I went to refi, Conestoga Bank would appraise it. The tenants were in there. I would have the guarantees for the parents would co-sign on the property. And that was in the downturn. A lot of you don't remember the downturn 12 or 13 years ago. It was painful. But that's when I just came into real estate, so it was actually pretty cool for me because I got to buy into that washout, and I just complete duplication. If you're going to create anything in a company, you want to create duplication. If you look at the Wawas, right? Could you guys say Wawas? They have Wawas here now, right? So I live about 3 miles from the first Wawa that was ever built. So it's actually, when I came to Florida, I'm like, there's a Wawa! Holy shit, there's a Wawa here! So I'm addicted to hazelnut coffee. But anyway, sorry to get off topic. What the hell was I talking about? So that's how I did it, and I just created a system. Every business has to have a system, and I just created duplication. Think about a Wawa, or think about a McDonald's or a Burger King. Why are they successful? You can walk into, I hate to use Wawa, but you can walk into any Wawa and stand in the middle of the Wawa, and you don't know where you are. You know you're in a Wawa, but you don't know if you're in Sarasota, St. Pete. You don't know if you're in Parkside, Pennsylvania, because they created the same system, the same organization as any other Wawa, and that's how they created success. McDonald's, they got the same shitty hamburger over and over and over again. They sell you, right? But they created something, a system where you could go through a drive-through and get it done in 2 minutes and have a horrible meal ready for you when you go to pay. Now that I'm on a diet, I'm all Mr. Healthy, right? You know, I used to be that guy going, give me 2 Big Macs and fries, baby. But I don't do that anymore. I go through Wawa, I go through McDonald's to get the fruit cup now. So, I mean, that's what I did. And literally I built about $25 million worth of real estate just from that simple system. And I still use that system today. So for the new investors, and then we'll go to how do you approach somebody for money, right? But that is the system that I used. I just did it out in Chicago. Dustin, Paul, I don't know if you know Dustin. He's one of my strategic partners. I just bought what did I buy? I bought a 69-unit storage facility, and all we did was I raised the capital for it. I brought in $450,000, $402 for the purchase, money for closing. There's an extra $30,000 there because we don't need that much work to it. It's more filling these for storage, the facility up, the storage facility up, and then we're going to go to the bank in probably a year. I think it's going to appraise for about $600,000. I'll get regular bank financing on there, and I'll pay back my investors, and we're in a deal with no money out of our pocket. I mean, that's the infomercial at 2 o'clock in the morning, right? But I can help your callers do that. I mean, the great thing is I live in Sarasota. I'm kind of bored. I can't be paddleboarding and bike riding with Mark all the time. So I think Paul's been following me a little bit on social media. I've never charged anyone for information. I don't plan on ever charging anybody. I make money through my assets, and I have a passion. I have a complete passion from my soul to help people in real estate, because I think it's the greatest thing in the world. And I know I had, Dave Van Horn and Carl Fisher, who owns Camaplan in Pennsylvania, self-directed IRA company. They were there for me, and they never charged me a dime. But they didn't tell me that I was going to need a big bottle of Advil to get through all this. That's for sure, right? And a psychologist and a therapist. It's crazy real estate, right? But it's all worth it in the end, right? I'm still alive.
Yeah, and you're living on Siesta Key. You're living people's vacation.
Oh, good line. Man, you're in sales, aren't you? That's pretty good.
So we've got a question that came in from Sarah. What did you do to, in order to accept money from your friends and lenders without running aloof of the SEC? And at what point do you need an attorney?
You need an attorney right away. So we were going to talk about this in a couple of minutes. So so I have a big private placement memorandum. So when you're going to pool money together, when you go over 2 people, that's when it's considered pooling money. So you definitely should have a securities attorney. Craig Sapetti out of Pennsylvania, or actually Craig lives in New Jersey. It is the first thing I went and did is hired Craig as my securities attorney. And I'm telling you, Craig has, over the past 13 years, up until like 5 years ago, he completely drove me crazy. So you will never see me, Paul follows me, you will never see me ask for money through social media or on stage. I don't do general solicitation. So when I was doing it back at Temple like 10 years ago, definitely you need a lien position. not only the lien position, 1 or 2 people, and that's it. You can't put 3 or 4 or 5 people on one property. That's where you're going to start getting in trouble. So if you are allowed though to put 1 or 2 people on a specific property and give them a first and second position and court them at the courthouse. But you can't go to 3 people. That's where you're going to go to general solicitation. So look, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to touch on it. Look, if you're a newbie or you got 2 or 3 deals going on and you bring Uncle Harry in on a deal, make sure you secure him. Make sure you put all the proper documentation. But I don't think the SEC is going to run after you for one small little deal in the corner of Sarasota. But I believe that if you learn how to raise capital, the limitations are really none, okay? So when you have money, you can buy any deal, you can close in on any deal in 2 weeks. You can tell the person you're buying the property for, you have a big advantage if someone has to get a loan rather than being able to close in 2 weeks. But when you talk about doing things right, I want you to understand when you're raising capital, and I don't do general solicitation, my investors are my marketing arm. They are the people that are going to spread the word about me. So when I take money from Harry and he invests with me, it's my job to do everything I say I'm going to do, because something that I do today and I've done for the past, I used to be really big in network marketing. And network marketing taught me a lot. And when you come into network marketing, sign up, put me in front of 3 people from the leader, right? It's because you want to build a mass of downline, right? It works the same way. What I learned from network marketing, I implemented it in my raising capital. So if Harry lends me money, I'm going to give him the note. I'm going to give him all the paperwork, the personal guarantees. I'm going to name him on the insurance policy. Okay, we're going to do all those proper steps, assignment of rents. Give him the whole thing, because he is now going to be your marketing arm. If you take care of Harry, you pay him on time, you pay him back, you do exactly what you say you're going to do. At the end of the deal, you can go, Harry, is there 3 people that might want to invest with me like you did? You told me that you were happy with me in the system. Can you put me in front of 3 people? Now, he might not put you in front of 3, but if you did everything you were saying you're going to do, I'm sure Harry will put you in front of 1 person or 2 people. And that's how it snowballs, right? Because the next 2 people, you get those, then you ask them for 2 or 3 people. Now you have 3 or 4 private investors. You know, one of the biggest problems is, Paul, can I put you on the hot seat? Oh, your mic's not on. Okay.
Yeah, you can. Go ahead.
What do you do for a living? So don't get mad at me. I told you the first time you're not going to like me. The third time you'll love me. What do you do for a living?
Normally, or you want, or pretend?
No, I want you to tell me what the hell you do for a living.
I wholesale, I buy and fix and flip, and buy rentals.
Okay, perfect. So don't get mad at me. So what he just said is what every investor I meet says, right? So that's the same thing I hear and I'll go, oh, he's just another one of those guys, right? But do you now you can get me back, right? You can shit on my parade if you want to. Do you need money? Do you need to raise money at all?
We always need money.
Perfect. So when you're out there and you're telling people, you always tell people what you need, not what you're doing. You tell them what you need, not what you're doing. So Paul, I would say, my name's Paul. I raise capital for a living. Britt, how many times in this year have you met people that said they raise capital for a living, and I'm not on your show? Because I know you had Dan
0.
Satosky, and I taught Dan Satosky a lot. So 0, right? So what I'm saying is, you're just another rehabber. If you say I rehab, you're just another real estate agent. If you just say I'm a real estate agent, Britt, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you kick ass and sell a shitload of real estate. But I don't want you to tell anybody that you're a real estate agent, because you're just a dime a dozen, right? If you say you're a trash truck, you got to be different. You got to catch somebody's ear. I raise capital for a living. I buy distressed assets across the United States. I buy charged off second mortgage. I lend capital, and I buy apartment buildings over 20 million. Now you're talking. Now I'm telling you. Now I'm getting pumped up. Now I'm telling you that person is listening. You raise capital, you raise capital for a living. I haven't heard that. You buy distressed assets. That's pretty cool. You buy apartment buildings over, 300,000. That's pretty cool. What are you talking about? You buy charged off second mortgages. What the hell? I got to talk to this guy, right? And then you go, hey, we'll talk about this in a minute. Hey, and this is great when I'm out, right? Because the biggest source of money out there is self-directed IRAs or just IRAs in general. Of the 100 million, I've raised a lot more of that, but I'm telling you, I just go off, I try to make the numbers easy. Of 100 million I raised, 70 million is self-directed IRA because people don't have regular money. Wealthy people don't have regular money sitting there doing nothing. They have it invested. But I can tell you, if I go to a 55-year-old person, they're going to have IRA money. And the greatest thing is that they give you regular money. They might have to send their kids to school or, college or a vacation, or they want to buy that second home. But don't get technical on me, but usually they're not going to use they're not going to use IRA money to buy a second home because they won't be able to, you can't self-benefit, right? So you have to be proficient in learning self-directed IRAs because that's where all the money is. I'm telling you right now, it's where all the money is. And I used to go to whenever I would go out in Cape May or I'd be out to dinner, I'm not exactly shy. So I'd be sitting there talking at the bar or restaurant and I'd be like, hey, how you doing? And I'd go, what do you do? I raise capital for a living. Yeah. And I'd go, hey, have you ever heard of self-directed IRA? So I'm not really being mean to somebody, but I'm setting them up to ask me a ton of questions. Have you met the salesman that just doesn't shut up and spits all over you, right? So I'm going to get my potential investors to spit all over me all these questions, right? So I'm going to say to that potential investor, which we're just having fun. We're down at the beach in Cape May in New Jersey. And I'm going to say, hey, have you heard of self-directed IRAs? Right? No. He goes, no. And I'm like, you've never heard of self-directed IRAs? You got to be kidding me, right? So my little dramatic, you got to be kidding me, never heard. I make it sound so powerful. That guy wants to know. And then they start asking me questions about self-directed IRAs. So if you're on this call and you want to raise capital, you need to master. You need to be an expert in learning self-directed IRAs. I promise you, it'll change your investing life forever. Because Paul, I don't know if you guys can if you learn self-directed IRAs and you get yours going, you can put Catherine, you wholesale, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can, I'm not going to, you can put $1,000 deposit, you can assign that and your IRA just went up 10,000. I mean, where else can you do this? What's that?
And it's non-taxable because it's in a Roth.
Yeah, where else can you do this shit, right? I mean, it's awesome. It's the best. So you got to learn self-directed IRA. Sorry, I just went on a tangent. I told you I'd lose control every once in a while.
No, it's perfect. I definitely agree. And it's one of those things where that is a great way to now make I wholesale and flip a lot more exciting to tell people.
Yeah, here's another good idea. Something that I did where I kicked everybody's ass was I want the new investors, I want you to go to the local community bank.
Okay.
And I want you to sit down. This is what I did. Take the ego away, okay? I want you to go sit down with your banker, your local community bank, and say, your name, obviously. My name's Steve Lloyd. I'm buying real estate in the community. And I'm going to be doing some rehabs. And my formula, my structure is to buy a distressed asset, a distressed house here. And I'm going to have an investor invest with me with a first and second mortgage. You're going to give me $100 grand, and I know the after repair value is going to be 120 grand. What do I need to do? How do I need to be set up 6 months from now to make the loan process easy for me? Right? Go and learn what you need to be, how you need to be set up, rather than going into the bank and not being prepared. I would go to the bank, and what is the banker going to ask you? What is he going to ask you? He's going to ask you for tax returns. He's going to ask you for your bank accounts. He's going to ask you if you have any IRA money. Walk into that bank with your whatever you have, your tax return, your bank account information, how much you have in your savings, how much you have in your IRA. Go in prepared to attack, right? You're not attacking, but you're showing the banker that you're serious and you're prepared. And if you don't want to take it into the bank, I'm telling you right now, 99% of the bankers are going to ask you to send it over your financials. So if you go home and don't send over your financials for 3 weeks, he's going to go, oh yeah, it's that guy again. But if you go home and send your financials over in 10 minutes, this guy's serious. I want to do business with this guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. So how should somebody get started in raising money?
I think I talked about this a little bit. I think you should go to, the biggest problem is we're poor, entrepreneurs are poor communicators. I talk to so many people and they go, I need to raise capital. Can you teach me? Can you teach me? I'm like, sure. Have you talked to grandma, Aunt Lucy? Have you talked to your mom? Have you talked to your uncle? Have you talked to your cousins, your best friend, and the people you grew up with for the past 10 years? No. No, they're all going to try to talk to people they never met before. So there's no relationship there. You have to create a culture. You already have a relationship with the people that you know. So that's who you want to go to. But you want to be prepared. Words don't mean anything, right? So everything is visual, words don't work. So if I say, Catherine, there's this really good looking guy coming to the show next week, right? Or I say, this is really good looking girl, you're like, oh yeah, you don't know. But when you see that good looking girl, that good looking guy, you're like, yo, what's up, right? So what you want to do is walk people down the road. If you're doing a rehab project, if you're in the middle of a rehab project, okay, what I used to do is, I used to bring my investor to the rehab to show them what their money's doing. There's 3 things your investor wants to know. They want to know about you, they want to know what you're investing in, and they want to know how they're going to get paid back. They're the 3 cores right there, okay? So what I used to do is, a new potential investor, this guy Michael used to lend me a lot of money. So I'd be in the middle of the rehab and I would talk to a potential investor, and I would say, why don't you come out to my project this weekend and let me walk you through. And I would bring the paperwork that I used for Michael, and I would sit down, we would go to the project, I walk him through, I bought this, now he gets to see the property, he gets to see the distressed asset, hopefully it's a quarter of the way done, he sees all the new mechanicals going in, he sees the windows, he sees what you're creating and what it's turning into. Take that new investor to a property that you finished and sold and walk them through the whole deal. I brought in $100,000, it took me 4 months to rehab it. Here's where I paid my investors. They have to visually see it, and you'll be so much further ahead in raising capital from that person. The system works. Michael, I just vividly remember, I remember bringing Michael down to Temple, and then we would go to lunch, and I'd sit down there and go over with the paperwork. But with technology today, when you guys go and rehab your next project, take pictures, put up I don't know if you ever hear of Fuquan Below, he's one of my big partners. I don't know if you guys follow him at all, but he's huge up in the Northeast. And what he does is he puts one of those cameras on the project for like 2 months, and then he speeds up it, but he takes photos and the photos, and he takes videos of the process of everything's going on. The heater goes on, he takes a picture before and after, because visualization is everything. It's so much more in a sale. You can talk about the prettiest boat that someone's going to buy, but what do you got to do? You got to get them on that boat to make them feel the experience. You want them to feel the experience of what you're doing. If you have more than 2 or 3 properties, have a tour on Saturday of your properties. I'm rambling. Is that good stuff or?
No, I love it.
That's great.
Yeah, all these little things add up. I tell entrepreneurs, I don't care what you do when you want to be an entrepreneur. You have to become an expert in what you do. We just went through it with COVID, with all these people getting laid off from their jobs. Excuse me. They're not experts in their field, so they're just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. It's why there's going to be so much competition. Britt, you got to be the best wholesaler. Britt, you got to be the best flipper, right? You're the bomb, man. You are, the flipster. I don't know what the hell you want to call yourself, but I know you want to call yourself the expert. If I line up 10 people and the first guy goes, I raise money, and I step forward and go, I'm an expert in raising capital. I'm an expert in raising capital. Who are they going to give money to? You got to go in with all passion and learn your business. And I heard someone said, your show is no competition. Yeah, that's all good. But I'll tell you what, the guys, my friends that were in the rehab business, I'm telling you, I wanted to kick their ass. I mean, I wanted to get my project done before them. Oh yeah, we used to have picnics and we'd have birthday candles for their kids on Sunday. But on Monday, I wanted to kick their ass. I wanted to raise more money than them. I wanted to own more real estate with them. I wanted to own a mobile home park before them. So I'm going to stir shit up. No more coffee for me tonight.
Well, that's a good competition. That's a friendly competition.
Yeah, not when you're from Philadelphia.
Touche, touche.
I'm only kidding.
So do you and Frank get in competition too?
What's that?
You and Frank McGovern get in competition too?
Oh, Frank. Frank is. Now you're gonna get me. Now you're gonna see my sensitive side. I love Frank dearly. I'm one of his. He is one of my strategic partners. I lend Frank money. Frank has come a long way. He's definitely. See that? You got me all emotional. So Frank is a special man. He's a special guy with a big heart. He was just here with me in Siesta Key with his whole family, and he has a gift like no other. He's becoming an expert in his field. He has screwed up. He has messed up. But you know what? I was interviewed this morning, and entrepreneurs, what I need you to do, I need you to have communication. I lent Frank a lot of money on a deal a couple years ago. I was the only one to lend him money in the beginning, and it was a lot of money. And I don't normally do this, but I knew his character and I knew what he was about. And he basically effed the thing up. Okay, but you know what? He came and talked to me. Communication. The biggest downfall of an entrepreneur is their lack of communication when they have problems. When we have problems, that's when we got to step up our communication and ask for help.
Yeah.
I'll go back in raising capital 10 years ago. I had a bad situation where, I don't want to get into it. have to be careful what I say, but I had a really bad guy in my life that put me in a tremendous amount of debt. And part of it didn't last long. It didn't last long because I always said I was going to do something. And one of my big multi-million-dollar investors became my partner. But before that happened, I had to go to 10 of my investors and said that there's a chance I might go under and I need your help. And I went to all 10 of them. And I told them I had to take them from 10% down to 2%. And I told them I didn't know when I was going to be able to make up the money. And all 10 of them said, no problem. It's okay, Steve. Just, we trust you. We know we're not going to lose our principal. And I said, I'm not going to let you down. 2 years later, I've paid them all back. The best experience I had is a woman named Michelle. I'm not going to say her last name, but she was a single mom. She got $1 million from a divorce, and she had $1 million with me so she could survive because she was a stay-at-home mom for years. And I'll tell you, man, I'll never forget that day I went to lunch. I took her $38,000 check and I said, here's all your back interest. And thanks for believing in me. But it was about the communication that we must have as an investor. We have to have full disclosure. I promise you, you could be in this business for the short term, or you can be in this business for the long term. You can make a little bit of money, or you can make life-changing money. And we're all going to get our ass kicked. I guarantee you, whoever's on this call, you're going to get your ass kicked. But when you're getting your ass kicked, you got to reach out for help. That's what's so special about Frank. He's a good man. He's a great person. He's an amazing father. He's amazing. But he what's that, hard on your sleeve? And he just came. He goes, I messed up, and I'm not going to let you down. I said, Frank, how much more money do you need? Do you need more money, Frank? When he got in a little bit of trouble, but you know what? He closed. He lost like $80,000 on these deals. But you know what? In the next deal, he kicked ass. So it's going to happen to us. It's inevitable as an entrepreneur. It's never going to go perfect. We're going to have the trials and tribulations. I tell people to have a vision 5 years out from now. Where do you want to be in 5 years? What do you want to own 5 years from now? I do it every single morning. I go through this process. It's a little deep. I won't go too far into it, but I'm telling you, I don't miss a morning of where I want to be 5 years from now, what I want to be doing, what apartment building I want to be walking into, who I want to surround myself with friends, where I'm going to be traveling to. And I'm telling you, it's in my subconscious of who I am. And I almost can play out my life if I want to. Who are the people I want to surround myself? If you're not inspired by if your friends don't inspire you, get 5 new friends. And I'm telling you, I walk the talk, man. I can't tell you how many people I got kicked out of my life this past 12 months. and not necessarily because of real estate. From what I see on social media, and I won't go too far with this, I'm sorry, but their character with the COVID situation. I am not going to tolerate people not being good, because the past 6 months, this is where you turn into a leader and lead and help people that are suffering and in trouble and then lost their jobs. Paul, you follow me on social media. I need to be there for people to help them get through one of the worst times of their life. And that's the great thing when you build a culture with your investors, with your private lenders. You're gonna, last year, I have about in Stone Bay, I have about 190 investors. And I remember I started out 8 years ago at my house. I had like 15 people at my holiday party. And then it went to 50. Last year was 180 or 183 people, and I'm hugging them, and it's great. The guy would come in, and I'd give him a Christmas hug, and I would reach down and grab his ass. He's like, "Why you grab my ass?" I'm like, "No, I'm just checking to see if you brought your checkbook, because I need money for my next deal." So, but that's about creating a culture of people want to be a part of good things. If you do the right thing and you bring the energy and you show them and you do everything you say you're going to do, you're going to have a following like nowhere. And it's not about where you are today. It's where you're going to create for 5 years from now. And what are we all striving for? We're all trying to do the same thing. What do we want? Britt and Paul, you guys are married, right? I don't know if you have children, but I don't know if you want to have children, but we're all working for our families. We're all trying to create, freedom and to do what we want to do every single day. But that's not today. I mean, I put in a lot of pain over a lot of years. It wasn't easy.
So David's got a question for you, Steve. At what point does one realize that they are in trouble? Is that the hardest part to recognize when you are in trouble?
Look, is it David's his name?
Yes.
You can call me. I'll tell you whether you're in trouble or not. I am me on Facebook. But let's just think about it, David. What I don't know if that question is because you feel like you're close to getting in trouble, but if you're close to getting in trouble, catch yourself. Don't get on that rope with butter and try to make it up that rope where you really can't do it, where you're running out of money. Don't wait to the last minute. When COVID hit, I told everybody to hold on to their money because I had no idea which way this market was going to go. Paul, I don't know if you saw that rant I did I got on top of my roof at Windsong. I'm actually out of my mind. The sunrise was coming up. And did you see that, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was absolutely out of my mind. But I was scared for people, and I told everybody, don't go to your last $10. Don't go to your last, tell people you can't pay them before you get to the end. So to answer your direct question, you probably know, it's in your gut. You know whether things aren't going right. And if it's too much stress for you, I know when I'm in trouble when I can't sleep at night. I tell my investors, if you invest with me and you can't sleep at night, make sure you call me the next day and ask for your money back, because that's not healthy. So one, you can call me at any time. You can just IM me on Facebook and we'll talk about your situation. Maybe I can help you. I don't know. I want to. Two, you probably know where you're getting close to being in trouble. There's a feeling there. If you got the feeling and you can't sleep at night, because when those things happen, I don't know if you have a wife or a girlfriend or kids, that spills over to them, and we don't want that. We want to catch it before it gets bad. If I say that it's only 10% bad, we can fix 10 or 20 or 30. But when we get to 90% in trouble, that's when it's kind of hard to make a comeback. It's harder to make the comeback. You're going to make a comeback, but it's harder to make the comeback when you're almost done.
Okay.
So that caller, tell him to get a hold of me. I'll talk to him.
Perfect. He also commented earlier and said that he didn't have questions yet, but he's super green when it comes to real estate. A friend suggested that he get on and attend the session. So I'm really glad that you're here, David.
Great.
Elena would like to know how to find and approach self-directed IRA people.
Look, most people over 45 or 50 have IRAs. So you're not approaching self-directed IRA people. What I want you to master is just self-directed IRAs, because I want you to you're going to go talk to people. Most of the people you talk to on a daily basis aren't going to have self-directed IRAs. But if I go to lunch tomorrow and the topic comes up and Betsy's sitting there having her grouper sandwich, which I hate grouper. You guys like grouper? I don't know what it is. I hate grouper. I don't know why. It's all over Florida. I just don't like it. I made like mahi. But if Betsy's sitting there with
Mahi's
a grouper
better.
sandwich, yeah, it's better blackened, right? It's so good.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna meet Betsy tomorrow and you start talking to her, the best thing is if she doesn't have a self-directed IRA, because if she has a self-directed IRA, she's probably doing something with it already, right? So if we learn how to take her from Fidelity, oh, you're with Fidelity? Yeah, well, we can't do business together. But there's this company, I don't know what self-directed IRA company you guys use down here, but I use Camaplan. You know, if you go on this website, camaplan.com, you can, and they don't believe you. This is the crazy thing. They don't believe that you can roll your money or transfer your money over to a self-directed IRA company with no fees. They think they're going to pay all these penalties and everything. But when you master, if they're at Fidelity, I can tell you they're paying 1.5% in fees. And this is what I talk about mastering, right? So if that lady's got $100,000, she's paying $1,500 a year in fees. If she's got $1 million, she's paying $15,000. She can lend you $1 million and pay $275 with a transaction fee of $125. That's what you need to learn and educate the potential investor. An investor that's not with a self-directed IRA company, educate her about self-directed IRAs and get her to understand it's okay with no penalties to move to a self-directed IRA company so she can be your investor. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Was I okay with that? Was that clear?
Yep. She said thank you. Yeah.
So Steve, I have a question off of that. So are you just organically finding self-directed IRAs, or are you, I mean, is this just happening as you're having conversations, or are you seeking these people out?
Oh, no, I'm not. Well, no, I'm not seeking. Well, let's go back 10 years ago because I don't have to do that anymore, right? I have people just want to give me money. So let's go back 10 years ago. Yeah, I was seeking people out. I was telling everybody I raise capital for a living. I let everybody know what I did. I need money. Yell to the world. I need money, right? I need money for my projects. I raise private. Tell everybody. Tell go to public and go through the thing and go, you know, you're a cashier. I'm raising money for capital. You got to tell everybody what you're doing in the world. That's our problem. We don't tell everybody what we're doing. Keep it open-minded. Don't be so, I'm not directing this to you, Britt. I'm like, don't be so narrow-minded. Tell everybody that you're raising capital for, go drive around the neighborhoods. Well, that's general solicitation, but don't do that. But go drive around the neighborhood with a bullhorn and tell everybody in your neighborhood that you raise capital. You understand I'm kind of kidding around, but you gotta tell the masses, and you're gonna get one person. It's gonna lead to another person. It's gonna be this is what you should be concentrating on, because in 4 or 5 years from now, you're gonna master that, and then people. This is how it turns over, right? This is why it's so important. This is why I want to teach you guys, because when you're raising capital for your deals, you're gonna raise out of deals. Then you're gonna meet other people with deals. And then Joe's going to come to you. Look, Paul, man, this is good. Okay, listen to it. It went from me raising capital for my deals. Then when I got out of Temple, I kind of slowed down. But I had all these people that wanted to invest with me. And then I started telling people that I had money. And if anybody wanted to partner with me, I would bring the capital in. And what happened was, okay, mute this to all my people that I do business with. They're all doing the work. Okay, Fuquan's rehabbing properties. Martin's doing notes. They're all busting your butt looking for apartment buildings. But when they come to a deal, because I've learned how to raise capital, I've learned how to raise IRA money. Okay, when you meet someone that owns a $20 million apartment building, they usually own what, Paul, 2 or 3% of the deal, right? I own 50% of the deal. I don't own 2, I own 50, because I brought the $5 million to the deal. I did not seek out the deal. I did not evaluate the deal. I didn't do anything on the deal. Just when Chip calls me and says he finds an apartment building, then it's go time for me when he says I need $8 million. So see how I switched over the years for my individual smaller properties to raising capital with the first lien, and then because I've had access to money, I'd be able to go, Chip, we're going to come in, we're going to bring I'll bring my investor capital. My investors need deals. We bring it on the apartment building. I get the equity. My investors get a rate of return.
A win-win.
Is that okay? Did I make sense there?
Yeah.
Yep, that was
I know
great.
I'm going too far for you, but this is just an hour where anybody, look, Paul, you got a couple friends on the call. We can go meet somewhere and hang out and talk about this stuff so we
I'd love
can
to.
really get people, raising capital. We can't do it all. We're just doing an overview right now.
So Darren's got a question for you. What are the pitfalls of a self-directed IRA?
The pitfalls, for who? The lender, or you borrowing the money? The pitfalls of a self-directed IRA. If you're the lender of your money, obviously the deal not going well. But if you only do 65 or 70% loan to value, if you're a lender, I would never lend on a property that I don't want to own. I would never lend on a property I don't want to own. The pitfalls, good question. You caught my ass off guard, but if it works, I don't see any pitfalls. I mean, the lender is going to get 8 to 12% return. You pay them monthly. They have a secured lien. The pitfall is if, you have to default and you have to take the property back. But sometimes that's a bonus. Let me tell you something. How I ended up in Siesta Key is because I foreclosed on somebody. Do you hear what I just said? My life changed because I lent money to someone. They didn't pay me for a year and a half. I foreclosed on a property near the village, and I ended up changing my life, and I don't have to worry about 2 feet of snow anymore.
Everything happens for a reason.
And when I thought, I was like, oh my God, this is where I go to, where things are bad. You take something bad and you can always turn it into something good. And if something's bad, it's only a lesson to learn to do it better the next time. But when I foreclosed, I was like, oh my God, Siesta Key, where the hell's that? Okay, it's in Sarasota. All right. I fly down here. I'm like, oh man, okay, this doesn't look good. We're way over. They didn't pay me for a year and a half. What am I going to do here? So I called this real estate agent. We foreclosed. I sold the property in like 2 days. They owned another property. They owed me like $600,000 because of that deal. Oh man, it went through pain. I took a property back from them, a duplex over near the village. I took that back, and guess what? I'm in the vacation rental business, right, Paul? You kind of know a little bit. So then I end up with this duplex. I'm into it for $700,000. It's worth $1.3 million now. So they still couldn't pay me back. So I came over to Windsong. They still owed me $500,000. Because I had confession of judgments, and I had personal. I had personal. They personally guaranteed, so they still owed me money. So I took over the property that I own, the quadruplex, 50 yards from Siesta. I foreclosed on that, and I put $200,000 on this, and now I'm living here. And I just bought that townhouse right over there. It's crazy how I got here. It's nuts. But it's all from a deal going bad, which I thought was absolutely horrible, and I didn't know anything about Siesta Key. Nothing. So I would tell people I'm going to Siesta Key. They're like, well, where's that in the Keys? I've heard of Key West. I'm like, no, I think it's north. I think it's like 5 hours north. So, look, I don't see many downfalls of using your money unless the deal goes bad. I mean, that's obvious with everything.
So he explained if he was the one taking out the self-directed IRA to raise capital for my own investments.
Yeah, I mean, look, there is no downfall. I mean, you're getting somebody with maybe 55 years old that can invest with you for the next 20 years. The only downfall, the upside for the lenders, their fees are low, $275 per deal, whether it's $100,000 or $1 million. So it's all good on the lender side. It's only bad on your side. The only bad thing is that if you don't pay him, just make sure that when you're using the IRA money, you secure them with a first or second position note all the time. You always do the paperwork, because remember that this guy's going to be your marketing arm.
Yeah. So Darren, most financial advisors are paid on a percentage of what they have hold in assets, which is probably why he didn't advise it, because you need some additional licensing to do self-directed and hold them as custodian.
Who does? We don't.
No, you don't, but your financial advisor that has all your retirement right now and a 401k or whatever it might be.
That financial advisor don't want you to leave him. Oh no, he don't want you to leave. He ain't gonna. Oh yeah, take your money. No. That's a Brit. You know, it ain't gonna work that way.
So that's probably
Now,
why
just
you
remember, if you do have self-directed IRA money, if you do have money at say wherever the top company, John Hancock or Fidelity, just remember when you move it to a self-directed IRA company, they're your custodian. They're not going to advise you to invest it anywhere. So when you move it over there, you need to know of investments that you're going to do, and that's the hard part, right? So if you can teach someone to go over there and invest with you, that's the good part.
So Doug's got a question. Can you explain the first and second secured positions?
Explain the first and second secured positions?
Yep.
Okay. All right, we got a newbie. Everybody duck. All right, so when I'm giving a loan to somebody, let's just say Britt wants $100,000 from me. So let's say she needs a total of 150,000. I only need 100, and she has another friend that has 50,000. So we're both going to give her a loan. So the first position usually give to has more money. That would be me with the 100 grand. And all transactions are always gone through either a law firm here or a title company. My lawyer, I don't know how you guys work here. In Pennsylvania, it's straight up title companies. Here, I actually go through a lawyer, and I don't know if they call that title, but I go through a lawyer here. So I would wire the two people. I would wire 50,000 to the law firm. The other person would wire 50,000 to the law firm. I would take a first position lien to the property with a note and a mortgage that the mortgage would get recorded at the courthouse, and the note would spell out the terms. So I would be in first position lien to that property. And then the other person who's lending the 50, the same process, they would send it over to the law firm. They would go in second position with a mortgage and a note, and then the mortgage would get recorded at the courthouse in Pennsylvania. We actually record the assignment of rents also. So you have those recordings now, and so now you got a first and second position on a property. I hope I answered your question, but just remember, it's very, very important that the liens are recorded for one, the person lending you money, but also for you being the borrower, because when you go to refi, the bank is going to look at the liens, and you don't want to end up, if the liens aren't recorded, that's going to end up being a cash out refi with a higher rate. So if that property that you took 150,000 on appraises for 200 grand, that's about 75% loan to value, and that is what the bank is going to give you, and they're just going to give you a regular rate and term refi rather than a cash out refi, which is going to be a higher rate. Does that help?
I believe so. So Deborah, hello. This question may or may not be out of Steve's area of expertise. Where does one find donors to invest in not-for-profit organizations that wants to provide permanent housing for female veterans?
How does she find that money? Call up I don't really know. I never raised capital from organizations like that because one, that's going to be really hard they have to have $5 million worth of assets to be able to lend to you because they're a corporation. That's a little next level stuff. So that's going to be, look, I'll never tell you that you can't, but there's rules. Like in my private placement, individuals could have a net worth of $1 million. When I go to corporations, they have to have a net worth of $5 million. So it changes when I take money from an individual versus when I take money from a nonprofit or a corporation. It's right in my private placement documents, and that's what you're probably going to need from those people. So they're going to have to have at least $5 million worth of assets to be able to lend money to you. But you know what you do? I mean, just on the surface of me, raising capital, find an organization, tell people what you need. Did you ever just put something on Facebook and say, I need a dog sitter? And this is kind of stupid shit, but you ever go, I need,
Britt does.
I want to sell something or I want something. Go on Facebook and tell your story and or create a business page and just put out there what you need. I'm telling you, I used to keep it all in and be quiet. I used to be shy, if you could possibly believe that. But today, if I need something, man, I just tell people what I need, and there's someone's always out there willing to help. I mean, look, there's pros and cons to social media, but if I go on Facebook and I need something, I just go out and say, hey, I need this. I need a connection to a veterans home that deals with women. Does anybody have any connections? And it happens. Oh my gosh, my cousin works at this, might work at the place that you're looking for. The easy answer is put it out there. How did I skate around that? Did I do okay?
Loved it.
Thanks. Just the point is, put it out there, whatever you want. It's there, I'm telling you.
Do investors, note holders share in profits or just the fixed return?
Okay, so that's a great question. You have to make that decision. I have never given up equity. I feel that I work too hard. I work long hours. I pay a rate of return. Now, my life has changed a little bit. The apartment buildings are a little bit different. But in this world that we're talking about for this call, I don't give up equity. And I want you to think there's pros and cons to the lender versus giving them equity and just a straight return. Because that going into a deal, you think you're going to make 30. So just say you bring in a private lender for 100 grand and you go into that deal and you think you're going to make 30 grand. Well, Paul, how many times have you gone into a deal where you thought you were going to make 40 and you end up making 15?
It happens.
Right, it happens. Right, I can tell you it's happened a lot for me. a lot, right? So what my point is, explain to the lender that's giving you money, sometimes it's better off to take a rate of return than to give you equity. Now, the only good part, so let me finish that off. So if you pay them a 10% return and it's 100 grand for 6 months, they know, what is that, 10%, they're going to make $5,000. You're guaranteed to make 5 grand. But if there's a deal you're flipping and you might only be looking at 20 and you only make 9, well, the investor only made 4,500. I've had deals where my investor made a lot more than the equity that I made.
Yeah.
But in the whole scheme of things, look, I'm pretty self-development up. I am not giving up my equity. I never have. I never will. In Stone Bay, I've raised a tremendous amount of money. Nobody gets profits. They get a fixed rate of return, and I get all the equity, and there will never be any other way because I know what I'm worth. And I took 20 years of my life and I worked my ass off day and night to get to where I am. And I'm not giving up the prize. I'm just not. Now, if you're in a position where you don't have options, I'm not telling you not to get your deal done. If you only have one person and that option is to give up equity, then make sure you just give up a fair amount of equity, because there's a word that I use in my daily life. It's called fair exchange. And if you don't have fair exchange, if the lender doesn't make their money or the equity investor, and you as the entrepreneur that's trying to get that done, if you don't make the right amount of money, it's not going to continue on for a long period of time if there's not fair exchange. Is I'm okay with that? Any questions off of that?
No, I don't think
so. That's good.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Steve. I know we went a little over, but we just get so excited, and all of our people always ask questions, and those are really great questions. Thank you, everyone, for asking those. We really appreciate your time, Steve, and everyone that joined tonight. We hope you have a safe Thursday night. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you in person on October 29th, guys, back at the Carlisle. We'll see you then. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, bye-bye.
Good information.
See you soon, Paul.